Hi, everyone. Welcome to this WION-VOA Co-Production live from New York City on this Friday. I'm your host, Susan Tehrani. Well, the debate between the two candidates for president was the first to take place before their summer conventions, both Republican and Democrat. VOA's Kala Yu reports from Atlanta.
Joe Biden and Donald Trump each made their case to voters for why they should be the next president. On the campaign trail, Trump says the U.S. economy is in ruins. At the Atlanta debate hosted by CNN, Trump said America is, quote, a seriously failing nation. He said Biden has done a poor job. Inflation is killing our country. It is absolutely killing us. On the campaign trail, Biden says he has turned around the poor economy he inherited from Trump. At the Atlanta debate, Biden said there is more to do on the economy. Biden said his administration is working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done. Public opinion polling shows this is a close race, with the economy and immigration top issues for voters. At the debate, Trump says Biden has failed to protect Americans from illegal immigrants who are taking jobs. Trump said the United States has a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, and he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they're raping and killing women. At the debate, Biden reminded voters about the Trump administration's family separation policy for immigrants. Biden said when Trump was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, put them in cages, making sure their families were separated. On the war in Ukraine, Trump said Russian President Vladimir Putin would never have invaded Ukraine if he had been president. Trump said he will have the war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect. Before I take office on January 20th, I'll have that war settled. Biden said Trump's lack of support for U.S. allies emboldens Russia and threatens a wider war in Europe. Biden said Putin wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there. Do you think he'll stop when, if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland, Belarus? This was the earliest presidential debate in U.S. history, with neither Trump nor Biden officially nominated as his party's candidate. They each have 75 days to convince the voters to choose them before their next debate in September. Kala Yu, VOA News, Atlanta.
All right, live from the White House, VOA's Chris Casquejo is joining us this morning. Chris, great to see you. What a night that was. What were the main takeaways from each candidate?
Well, the main takeaways on the Democratic side is there's a lot of concern about Joe Biden's performance, namely his slow start. He sounded hoarse in the beginning few minutes of the debate, and he had trouble making points on several occasions. So there's a lot of hand-wringing in Democratic circles. Now, whether that hand-wringing grows to a larger chorus among the superdelegates who are going to be at the nominating convention and Biden's inner circle of advisors, we'll have to see in the next few days. Now, on the Trump side, he had numerous opportunities to condemn January 6 rioters, and he didn't. In fact, he went further with his promises for retribution, and he warned that members of the congressional committee that investigated him for his role on January 6th could face criminal charges along with Biden. But of course, he didn't specify under what basis they would be charged. That caused Biden to shoot back. The only person on this stage who's a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at. Susan?
Yeah, Chris, it was really interesting. And, you know, Biden's performance comes just days after the White House continued to try to convince Americans that the video that we saw with our own eyes were, quote unquote, cheap fakes. Were there any surprising moments?
Well, let's go to one kind of surprising moment on policy. Trump said he will not seek a ban on the so-called abortion pill after the recent Supreme Court ruling upholding the use of mifepristone. Now, as we discussed last week, it's used in nearly 2/3 of abortions now, 2 years after Roe versus Wade was overturned. So we're going to have to see how that plays with Trump's most ardent supporters, which are evangelical conservative Christians who favor near total bans on abortion. But Trump went on to assert that everyone wanted the issue of abortion back with the states, which is a false claim because numerous polls have shown significant opposition to overturning Roe versus Wade, and voters have punished Republicans in the elections that have happened in the 2 years since that Dobbs decision. And then there was another moment where many say that this was the most substantial and natural exchange between the two candidates, where they argued about their golf games, if you could believe that.
Yeah, we did really get an eyeful of what we watched. Chris, please stay with me. I'd love to get your thoughts on our next story as well. President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump, they agree on, well, a few things, to say the least, but a ban on the Beijing-based social media platform TikTok is one of them. Now, with presidential elections underway, the two men have decided to join that platform. But will it make any difference? Our next report by VOA's Tina Trin tells us more.
The president is now on TikTok. It's my honor.
Presumptive Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump joined TikTok this month.
Chiefs or Niners?
Two great quarterbacks, hard to decide.
President Joe Biden did the same in February. It seems the often maligned social network is no longer a problem when there's a presidential election on the line.
The entire social media world has changed in the 4 years between the last presidential election and this one. This is the first one in which TikTok is the dominant force that it is now.
Both Biden and Trump were in favor of banning TikTok in the U.S., citing security concerns over its parent company's ties to the Chinese government. But with 170 million users in the U.S., 44% of them aged 18 to 29, TikTok represents a critical opportunity to win over young voters. Still, even as more Americans get their news on social media, a recent study finds it's not why they're there.
When we asked about what reason you turn to these sites, I think entertainment was the top reason for every single one of them. And especially for TikTok, entertainment was a huge reason, and news was not a major reason that people were turning to the sites.
TikTok users come across news indirectly through opinion or humor-based posts referencing current events. And unlike Facebook or Instagram, they're not posts by friends or family.
On TikTok, the most common source of news is actually other people they don't know personally. The algorithm is feeding people things more so than they're following someone specifically.
It's very, very difficult for any single social media account, even if it is the account of the president or the former president, to get all that much attention in the extremely crowded and chaotic landscape of social media presence.
Marketing experts say building on the reach and reputation of online influencers is key.
You need to have multiple voices putting out that message. Influencers obviously also have relationships with their followings. They're more trusted than perhaps a politician may be. You've got to figure out a way to, convey your message and explain why you'd be a better president in a way that's going to make sense and not turn people off on this platform that they've come to for fun. They haven't come to hear your political ad.
In what's shaping up to be a close race, TikTok influencers might just be this election season's digital campaign managers. Tina Trin, VOA News, New York.
All right, VOA's Chris Casquejo is still with us live from the White House. Chris, how are both campaigns employing digital strategy to reach voters, not just TikTok, but elsewhere?
Well, you heard in this story how entertainment is a large reason why many of the younger users are on this platform. And basically, both campaigns are stepping up their meme games. Biden's team has embraced the so-called Dark Brandon theme. Brandon was originally a nickname derisively given to him at a NASCAR event a couple of years ago when they were actually chanting a profanity, and the reporter on site said that they were chanting, "Let's go Brandon." So they have really adopted that and taken the Dark Brandon theme to poke fun at a lot of the right-wing conspiracies, like the ones involving Taylor Swift and her relationship with the Kansas City Chiefs player Travis Kelce, and that Biden is somehow manipulating that relationship to gain votes, if you can believe that. Now, Trump and his staff regularly share memes that glorify him in over-the-top ways, such as leading a group of Bollywood dancers. Now in April, right before the total solar eclipse, Trump's Truth Social platform posted a video of him and a silhouette of his face blocking out the sun or the moon for that total eclipse. Now both the Biden and Trump campaigns also clip potentially embarrassing videos of the other candidate, and they share it within minutes, hoping that it will be injected into the news cycle for that day and for the coming days. So that's how they're dealing with it, by upping their meme game. Susan?
Yeah, and it's really also a campaign to win the hearts and minds of younger voters, notably those under the age of 30. Reports indicate that TikTok users, 47% of them, are in that age range. What is the current breakdown of younger voters in the United States?
Well, let's start off with one thing. Younger voters did not want to see this matchup. They were very clear about that in most of the polls. But according to Pew Research, about 2/3 of voters aged 18 to 24 associate with the Democratic Party, compared with 34% who align with the GOP. Now, those percentages decrease as the voting age goes up. There is an age gap in partisan affiliation of voters aged 25 to 29, but 64% of them are Democrats. 32% are Republicans, and voters in their 30s also tilt Democratic, but the margin is lesser. 55% lean Democratic or identify as Democrats. 42 are Republicans or Republican leaders. Why do those numbers matter? Because, again, it's going to come down to those few battleground states that decided the last election. And, any margins that can be shaved, whether it's getting on TikTok, trying to speak to younger voters, those are going to be important come November. Susan?
All right, great. Chris Casquejo, VOA's correspondent, live from the White House for us. Chris, have a great weekend, and it was great talking to you.
You too.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.